Hey folks, welcome back to the Edupedia world, and I am Abhinay Gupta. And today again we will continue with the producer company, right? And we are taking up an important section today, section 581J. Right? In the previous lecture we have done with section 581H and I. Right? Although we have been moving in serial order as per the sections are concerned, right? But since your exams are approaching and there are high demand on this chapter, what we are going to do for you is we take up the important sections in priority. Now when I say important sections, does not mean something important as per me, right? But when I say important section, it means the sections that have appeared repeatedly or even once in your examination. So those sections will be taken in priority, right? And also those sections on which the institute has drafted questions in the practice manual. Otherwise, the sections that have never been touched either in practice manual or in your examination will be taken up at the end if time permits. Otherwise, you can prepare with these sections for your examination and the rest will follow, right? So we'll begin with section 581J today. So it is 581J. Now what is this section about? This section of 581J basically deals with the conversion of an existing interstate cooperative society into a producer company. Yes, mark my words when I say that we are converting a society into a company, right? That means an entity that was governed by some other act will be transferred to some other act, because the Inter State Co-Operative Society was basically governed by the Society Act and there are many other acts applicable on it. But when we convert it into the producer company, the Society Act should come to an end and the Companies Act 2013 will be applicable on the producer company, right? So this is something that has to be crystal clear in your mind. Okay. Now one more thing that I would like to discuss along with this over here is that section 581J will also be applicable when we are talking about some other conversions as well. Now what are those other conversions? Those other conversions basically are conversions that take place from some other act to the Companies Act. Now for example, if we have the Cooperative Society of Producers, this is just any interstate cooperative society. If we have cooperative society which are not interstate, right, in a single state, but we have a cooperative society of producers, that will have the same effect. If we have a federation, it will have the same effect. If we have a union of cooperative societies, it will have the same effect. If we have cooperatives of producers instead of cooperative societies, right, which is not governed by the Society Act, but will have some other act applicable on it, even that will be governed by the same procedure. Clear with it? So when you go hunting the various authors and other books, you may not get this thing mentioned in some of those books, but yeah, these will equally be applicable, right? So now let us get into the procedural detail of how will the conversion take place and what will be the effect of that conversion. That is the entire content of section 581J, right? So what we have basically is that there has to be an interstate cooperative society or any other body that we have just discussed, and over here that should operate or which should have their objectives expanded to more than one state. Only then it is an interstate cooperative society, right? Regardless to mention that, but yes, it is. So that interstate cooperative society will come up and make an application to the registrar of company, right? So now this society does not go to the registrar of society, but now this society comes to the registrar of company. So it gives an application. The application straight away says that yeah, we want to get ourselves converted into the producer company. So whatever are your documents required, we have seen the list, so please find the attached documents. It's as simple as that, right? Now once the registrar gets this application and gets the document, now it is on this registrar to go ahead and verify, right? It will go ahead and verify, and once it is convinced that yeah, this can be performed or this is possible, the conversion is legally possible, then it will go ahead and register the producer company. So whenever the registrar is satisfied that yes, all the requirements of the Act, Companies Act, because we are the registrar of company, all the requirements of Companies Act has been fulfilled over here. Plus, there is no other variation. Right? So requirements of conversion have been fulfilled, documents are in place, no variations. Then the registrar can go ahead and register those memorandums, articles and other documents of the cooperative society. And once it is done, then the entire process may take up to 30 days, and within 30 days the registrar issues the certificate of incorporation to the Inter State Co-Operative Society, that yes, welcome, now you are a company. You were a society, now you are into our family, you are a company. Right? So what happens with this conversion we'll see, but before that we need to understand what are these documents that the Interstate Cooperative Society sends to the registrar. Right? So here you have the list of all documents. First of all, you have a special resolution. Mark the word special resolution, because it's not an ordinary task. Not every day or every year you keep converting, right? So conversion is one thing that happens once. Okay, you may reconvert back and then again convert. It may happen twice, but generally it is a non-occurring or a non-repetitive task. So it would always require a special resolution. And here the special resolution, the majority is that you should have more than 2/3 of the consent. When the text says not less than 2/3, that is minimum 2/3 will be done, right, of the total members. Along with it, you also send your memorandum, you will give your article of association, right, which will be duly signed by the subscribers of memorandum. These are basic documents. There was no need to mention it over here, but yes, just to remind that when you are going to get your company registered, these have to follow. Okay. Along with it, you will also give a list of members, all the name of the members. It's just a list that these are the members. No other details for the members are required. But when it comes up to directors, right, you'll give again a list of all the directors, that yeah, Mr. so and so, so and so, so and so, so and so are the directors. Then along with that, you will also have to mention some of the details of those directors. May it be director or the chief executive, anybody, right? So what will that detail contain? That detail will just contain the name, address and the occupation of that director, nothing else. Okay. Then along with it, you will also give a statement of 581B object. Now what is the statement of 581B object? Remember, we have covered section 581B in the previous lectures. Yes, that section basically dealt with all the objects that a producer company has, right? Deals with the objects that the producer company has. So these objects have to be the same object that was mentioned in section 581B. That should be the object of this producer company when you are getting yourself converted into a producer company, right? And at the end, there should be a declaration by 2 or more than 2 of the directors who are certifying that all the documents and the particulars which have been mentioned, or the particulars mentioned in the above documents, are all correct. So now it becomes the responsibility of the director to check it, right? Because he will be legally liable if there is anything that goes wrong, right? So these are the documents that will be attached along with the application and forwarded to the registrar. And if the registrar is satisfied that yeah, everything is done, it's in place, then within 30 days of the receipt of the documents and the application, the registrar issues a certificate of registration, right? And the date of conversion is called the transformation date. That yeah, in this particular date, the entire Interstate Cooperative Society is transformed into a company. Getting the point? Right? So the entire process goes this way. The Interstate Cooperative Society gives the application and other document to the registrar. Registrar checks and verifies it, issues the certificate of registration, and that date becomes the transformation date. This is the simple message that the entire slide had to convey. Clear with it? Now, application given, registration done. No problem at all. But understand, you have shifted the law. There was one law applicable on the Inter State Co-Operative Society. Now there is some other law, some other act applicable on the producer company. Right? And the company never stands alone. It has members, directors, customers, investors, a lot of people. Right? So let us see what effect does the conversion have. Right? So we'll get to see the post registration effect. Number one, since it is a producer company now, and you know that producer companies are considered or deemed to be private companies, right? So this society now, once converted, or once that transformation date goes by, it becomes a private company, right? And all private companies are governed by the provisions of Part 9A of the Companies Act 1956, right? And once it becomes a private company, and once it is registered under the Companies Act, the older law, which is the society law, would cease to exist, right? The society law will not be applicable on the producer company, right? And then what does the registrar do? The registrar of company will intimate the registrar of the society that, listen, this was the society registered under you, but now they have come under my shelter. They have opted for a conversion, the documents are good, I have given them a certificate of registration, and I am giving you an intimation that they have been moved to my ship. So what does the registrar of society do? The registrar of society says that, friends, one of our friend that was in Inter State Co-Operative Society has left our league and joined the league of the companies. So we would say goodbye and remove or delete the name from the register. That yeah, so and so is no more a member of our community. Okay? And yeah, mind it, if there is any interstate cooperative society that aims at conversion to a company so as to avoid some of its act or its liability, then that is not possible, because any liability of the prior act will always continue, right? So if there is anything that they had done that needs to be amended, or there is something that had to be done but they did not do it, omitted to do that thing, right? And this was done by the society and before its registration as a producer company, then those act which is done or which is undone shall remain unaffected and would be carried forward as a producer company, and they would have to perform or unperform those tasks now, right? So just because of shift of the act or the law, the liabilities would not change, right? And there is no claim on it by reason of conversion. Yes, this is the most important thing, right? So if there was a society and by the reason of conversion, if somebody puts on a claim that no, I had been a part of society, I am not in that 2/3 of the majority who had given a special resolution, I don't want to be a producer company, I want my claims, that is not possible, right? Because if there is a special resolution and you are converting with the consent of so much majority of the members into a producer company, all of you have to abide by it, right? There is no excuse and no claim on the company or on the society for their conversion. Okay, so the next point we'll have is the conversion of the members. So each and every member that was a member of the society before the transformation date will again be the member of the producer company after the transformation date. So all of them will be carried forward, right? So when we talk about 581J, this is 581J, but this portion is actually 581K, right? So K, L, M and O are very small topics, and that we will discuss right now. So all the members convert, and all the business, right, or to say all the undertaking of the Interstate Cooperative Society will also vest with the producer company. And when I talk about the undertaking, I talk about all the properties, debts, liabilities, assets, rights, privileges, obligations, any contract they had, any money they had due, any matters unresolved, whatever it is, everything, the entire business will be converted or will be shifted from the society to the producer company. And one more thing, if there is any privilege that was given to that society because it was a society, maybe they had any license, they had any operating permissions, they had some benefits, some tax privileges, some fiscal laws were operating on them, any of such things, if it was applicable on the society, then the same would continue to be applicable as a producer company. They need not go again to the departments to get the license for the same thing just because their nature has converted. When I talk about nature, now they are no more a society, but they are a company. But ultimately their objective is the same, their task is the same, the members are the same, they are doing the same thing with same number of people. So logically there should not be a re-requirement just because of the shift from the society to the company, from one act to another, right? Because operationally everything remains constant, right? Then we have effects on the directors, on employees, retired employees and trust. So what effects lie on the directors? So when I talk about the effect on directors, basically the directors will have the right to continue in the producer company for 1 year. So nobody can chase them out, right? So after conversion till 1 year at least, the director, if he wants, nobody can remove him, right? But if there is any premature termination of the director, if the director resigns, himself leaves, that no, I do not want to get converted into a company, I am resigning, then there is no compensation for the same. You have the right to continue for at least 1 year, but there is no compensation for loss of office due to conversion, right, to any director or the employees. Clear with it? And it is not just with directors, it is also the same with the employees. So in the case of employee, basically it is not a 1 year privilege given to them. It is like if the employee had to continue for the next 10 years in the Inter State Co-Operative Society, this is an example, then over here in the producer company as well, he will have the same right to continue for the next 10 years. That means the employees, all the employees will shift and will shift with the same contract or the same terms in the contract, same tenure, remuneration, terms and conditions, obligations, rights, privileges, salaries, whatever. So they will have no effect on that. Only the company externally changes, internally everything remains constant, right? But now if there is any particular employee that does not want to continue, that no, I had been a part of you as a society, company, no, never. So what happens to them? What do we say? Tata, bye bye, right? So those employees will be deemed to have resigned, and hence they will not be entitled to any compensation, right? Because there are many employees who will try to take privilege of this opportunity. Okay, you're changing, I have a reason that because of this I cannot continue with the company, entitled to compensation. Company has taken a step, company involved into an act that I didn't like, and because of which my employment is terminated, I am liable to get the compensation. So you are not mentally stable over here, right? You will not be allowed anything because there is nothing adverse happening. All your situations, conditions remains the same, right? Now if you look at the effect on the retired employee, it's again the same. So if they had some post-retirement benefit, termination benefit, rights, privileges, all of those things will always remain constant, right? And if it was a trust, the trust of your provident fund, the trust of your gratuity fund, whatever you were actually preparing as a society will continue, right? They'll discharge their function in the producer company now and enjoy the tax exemptions if they had any, right, which was granted earlier to the society. So there will be no change, they'll continue to enjoy those benefits, right? So these in series were 581J is this section, 581K, L, M and N has been covered in series, right? So okay with it? So this is in entirety about the section. I hope it is crystal clear with you without any doubt. And again, there's one thing I would like to repeat that I did in the beginning of the lecture, that the entire section will remain applicable if we are not talking about Interstate Cooperative Society, but instead we are talking about any cooperative society of producers, any federation of producers, any union of cooperative society, any cooperatives of producers, or any such things, right? Any of that converting into a producer company will have the same impact, same steps, same procedure, everything remains constant, right? So that is where we'll hold our lecture today, and we'll meet you again back with the same topic, the next section of the same topic, which is the producer company, right? And as I said, we will take up the important topics first, so that your exam point of view, the syllabus is covered. Clear with that? So I'll see you guys back in the next lecture. Until then, this is Abhinay Gupta signing off. Thank you.